So glad you could join us for another Contending for the Nation podcast. This one is important. There is a storm approaching. It's already here. A pandemic, you could say, a plague. Much of it's right on our southern border, and it's spreading to the nation. You want to catch this podcast, an interview with Jim Caviezel. There's a movie that will be released July 4th. They've fought it to keep it out of the movie theaters for over 5 years. Dietrich Bonhoeffer said this: silence in the face of evil is itself evil. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to speak. Stay tuned.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's gonna pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
How long you been doing this?
12 years now.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? ¿Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana?
Te lo prometo.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
Which means she'll disappear for good. Imagine walking into her room right now, seeing an empty bed. What we do?
You quit your job, and you go and rescue those kids.
So at this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be at Moscow, Bangkok, LA. She's a major operator.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own. This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
When God tells you what to do, you cannot hesitate.
An estimated 2 million children are trafficked every year, and we can help them. Sound of Freedom is based on a true story about real-life heroes saving kids from the dark world of child trafficking. We know this is heartbreaking and it hurts to look at, but the first step in helping these children is hearing their story. Not enough people know this problem exists, and even fewer people are willing to do anything about it. Our goal is to inspire 2 million people to attend the film's opening weekend, to represent the 2 million trafficked children around the world. To spread the word, Angel Studios set up a Pay It Forward program where you can pay for someone else's ticket who might not otherwise see it. If the ticket price is stopping you from attending, claim your free ticket at angel.com/freedom. Sound of Freedom opens the week of July 4th. Every parent, every adult, and every teenager in America should be there to see it. If millions of us come together today to see this film, we could propel the movement to help save millions of children around the world. And you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.
As darkness permeates our nation, seeking to erase our godly heritage, we resist the lies and censorship, and we passionately pursue truth. And the one who said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." You're watching Contending for the Nation with Mark Anderson.
Luke 17:2 says, It would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea than that he should offend one of these little ones.
I was just reading today in Proverbs 27:12. The prudent man looks well to his going, but the simple pass on and are punished with suffering. Our nation is suffering tremendously. There's things that have been unleashed in this nation that are causing great suffering, and it's going to get more intense. This coming fall and winter, things are going to come to a head, and evil is not going to back off. President Trump, when he was in office, he did his best to shut down the sex slave trade, made tremendous progress also at our southern border, trying to build the wall, but Democrats resisted him every step of the way, and many of the rhinos, Republicans, just sat silent, not even really lending a hand to help him out. When he was taken out of office by a fraudulent election, we know that he won by a landslide. Most of the country knows this now. There's so much proof coming out, even in the last few months. And yet nothing is done because of compromised politicians, law enforcement, FBI, CIA, have become weaponized. Our judicial system, it mainly goes after those who stand up for conservative values and love this nation now. Something is so wrong. And if I want you to really consider getting involved as you listen to this interview with Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard from Operation Underground Railroad. Let it stir your heart to action. There is that plague, and it's right at our southern border. We talk about having compassion and letting everybody come through our border, but as a result of it, politicians and the drug cartel have taken total advantage of this, and the sex slave trade is right now at an all-time high. 2 million children are kidnapped and part of the sex slave trade. They're using their body parts right now for just heinous crimes. And this is all being released under this illegal administration that's in power right now. There's an agenda. And I want you to catch this interview with Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard and the producer, Eduardo, who's putting this movie, The Sound of Freedom, out. It's time for action. We cannot sit idle any longer, people. This is a plague in our nation. As you will hear this interview, let it stir your heart to action.
Because we can rescue one and hundreds or thousands. We have been blessed enough to have rescued over 7,000 in our 10 years, women and children. And and we do it all for one, like the movie depicts. We would do it all for one, but there's millions of children. There's millions of children. So that's, statistically speaking, that's a drop in the bucket. And so that's why your applause should be at these guys, the storytellers, because remember, if you know the story, Abraham Lincoln, when he met Harriet Beecher Stowe for the first time in the White House, he said to her, "So you're the little lady that wrote the big book that started this war." He was recognizing that it was the storytellers, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Harriet Beecher Stowe, that's what shaped and changed the foundation, and it caused Lincoln to turn to God and change everything about the purpose of the war, about liberating the captives. So we need storytellers, because that's when millions get rescued. And so these guys are my heroes, because they are the storytellers, and I hope this film can be the second iteration or the modern day Uncle Tom's Cabin to shine a light on modern day slavery and wake up the world. So thank you.
There's a statistic at the end of the film that comes up that the first time I saw it, I had no idea it was at that level. Again, it's 152 million? Billion with a B.
152 billion. That's what those traffickers make.
Can you believe that? 152 billion. It's business. And it's so hard, Jim, it's so hard for everybody to grasp they're doing this to people.
Can I give you what Tim told me?
Yeah.
So it'd be like every sports team, NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, combine that. Now let's go to the World Cup soccer, all the countries, grab all those countries, combine it, and then let's take every 18-year-old that's going to graduate high school and send them to Stanford for a 4-year degree. Now you're talking 150 billion.
That's staggering. It's hard to comprehend that. Eduardo, I mean, when you know, the film shines a spotlight on, and you just said that, Tim, about on this industry that we all kind of had an understanding of, that this was out there, more so recently. But we have this, and I say we, I'm thinking most Americans, and I know we have other countries watching, and it may be this way for you too, but most people believe, oh yeah, you know, it's horrible what they're doing over there in South America and what they're doing in Colombia. The reality of it being in America is something that it's been so far undercover that most of us had no idea it was at that level. Why has it taken so long, do you think, for us to see that light?
Well, all I can say is that when I met this real hero 8 years ago in Los Angeles, California, and I learned what he was doing, traveling around the world with his team undercover, rescuing children who were kidnapped for sexual exploitation, children, 3-year-old boys, 5, 6, 7-year-old girls who are being raped 10 to 15 times a day for many years. And after decline, decline doesn't want them anymore because they're not fresh anymore. They jump into the second business in the black market of organs traffic. They open them and sell their parts. And I was in shock.
Yeah,
I was in shock. And he said to me, Eduardo, it's very sad what I'm telling you. But it's more sad now that you know if you do nothing. It's more sad than now that you know it, if you do nothing, what are you going to do?
Right.
I asked myself and I asked God, what can I do to end child trafficking? I'm a filmmaker. I have I don't know how these guys, they manage weapons, right? They're experts. I said to Tim, I have a weapon of mass instruction and inspiration, film,
yeah.
And I'm gonna use it. So I made a promise to God that I will dedicate my life to end child trafficking through the art, through film.
Yeah.
Thanks be to God. And I said to him, but Tim, what, United States, this is a global problem, right? It's a global problem. US is the #1 consumer of child sex in the world.
So did you get that? That was the hard part that I was stunned by. The United States is the #1 consumer
of child sex. And Mexico is the #1 provider. I'm from Mexico. I love Mexico. I love United States. This nation has been such an amazing blessing in my life. Opened the door to my dreams. God bless this wonderful nation. God bless Mexico. And we need to work together because we're not just neighbors. We're brothers. We are brothers. And we can make America and Mexico great together.
That's right.
But how can we make them together? How can we make them great together if there is many children? Right now, as we speak, when did you started this gathering? Hour ago?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Hour ago.
Almost.
In Mexico, 6 children disappear. We started this gathering. In 20 more minutes, one more, and then 20 more minutes, one more, and then one more, and then one more. 57 a day, 21,000 a year. Those are the official numbers. I think it's more than that. I think it's more than that. When you hear that, how in the world are you going to be looking the other way around or silence? Now I can't. I can't. Life is too short, and I'm going to answer to God one day. And if He reveals to me this information, it's because He wants me to do something about it. And my hope as a filmmaker is that when people see this movie, they will leave the theater not only entertained, they will leave the theater wanting to do something, asking the same question, God, what can I do to end this? Enough is enough. I want to do something for these children, because God's children are not for sale.
And I want to add, this guy's a brave man, because 8 years ago when we started this project, I remember we talked about this. You could Google human trafficking and and it was hardly there. So he's making a movie about something, that people don't even know what it is, and it sounds kind of crazy. But you remember these conversations? And Alejandro, no one's going to go see your movie, but God's telling us to do it anyway. And 8 years later, here we are. People are talking about it, not like they need to, but at least it's there. And the timeliness. I mean, I've been doing media for Sound of Freedom. You see what happened? The story that broke 2 days ago on Instagram, where pedophiles and traffickers are using Instagram, and Instagram's not doing much to stop it, maybe even facilitating it. This film, you saw how the story kicks off at the port of entry, right? And at the southern border. That's a true story. They filmed that exactly where that happened, with that little boy and the necklace. That's a real story. The necklace with the Timothy on it. That's timely. Look what's happening right now at our southern border. I was 10 years on that border. 85,000 unaccompanied minors just in the last year or two that show up. Thousands are 5 years old or younger. What are they doing? The economics of this whole thing tells us we are the #1 demand for child sexual exploitation material in the world. Thousands, tens and tens of thousands of kids are coming and disappearing. Let me tell you how it works if you don't know. They kidnap a kid in Central America or wherever, and they just little safety pin a name, the sponsor, put the name in the pocket. The 5-year-old shows up, the 10-year-old, whatever, and Health and Human Services has to take the kid, call the number, and your taxpayer dollars will then pay for the final leg of that trafficking experience when the kid put on a bus, on a plane, and taken to whoever's name is on there. Can you imagine if in Columbus, Ohio, or Salt Lake City, or San Diego, if a child was found alone, unaccompanied, the police would take that child. They would not give that child away. They would do everything, DNA test, background check, everything. And these kids, these poor children who are coming into our country because we won't enforce. If we enforced, they wouldn't be incentivized to come. But because there's no incentive to do anything but come, I mean, these traffickers are making $14 million a day. These kids, our policies are facilitating and even paying for child trafficking right here at home. This is why we need to get loud now, and I think God saved this movie to come out right now while things are popping, right? Don't you think?
Now I have to say something. I asked Tim Ballard, who do you want to play you? And he said, Jim Caviezel. I said, but Jim, I know Jim, but Jim is like taller than you, he's older than you, he doesn't look like you.
He's better looking.
And he said, it doesn't matter. He's a man of God, and he's a brilliant actor. And we are looking for an ambassador of freedom, and he can be an ambassador of freedom. Please get Jim Caviezel. Please, please. And I texted that day Jim Caviezel, and I said this before. I thought he was going to answer with typical answer, Hollywood actor. Yeah, I call my manager, my agent, whatever, and then nothing happens, right? He answered me right away. Let's meet tonight. We met him tonight. We met him that night. He had a beer, long beer. So I thought, wow, we're with Jesus right now. So we pitched the story to him, and he was with a tear in his eyes. He said, I'm in. Send me the script. So I'm very excited with this news. I haven't shared this news with Tim yet. The next day he calls me and he said, Eduardo, and this is a miracle. This is how God works. He said, Eduardo, so I'm in, but I talked to my wife. I told her that I have to go to Colombia to film this movie. I think she just saw Narcos on Netflix. Narcos Colombia on Netflix, and she doesn't want me to go there. Can we film this somewhere else? He said, okay, well, let me call you back. So I called Tim and I said, Tim, I have a good news and a bad news. Good news, Jim is in. The bad news, what I thought was a bad news, you see the story. His wife saw Narcos Colombia on Netflix, and she doesn't want him to go there. She's not comfortable him going to Colombia to film this movie. So what can we do? And he said, let me think about it. Tell them if 30 ex-Navy SEALs will be enough to protect him. How many? 30 ex-Navy SEAls. Okay. So I pass the message. Done. So we're in Colombia filming, right? So remember I say good news and bad news, right? 3 weeks later, after filming the movie, half of them are not on the set. And I don't want to tell Jim anything, but I know as a producer, I know who's on set. So it's 200 people on set, and I noticed that half of those guys were not on set. So I didn't ask him anything, so I pretend like nothing happened. And month and a half later, I'm reading a local newspaper that it says 23 traffickers were arrested, 200 children were rescued from, they were kidnapped for sexual exploitation for this tourism in Cartagena. I run to see Tim. He said, brother, this is like the movie. And he smiles and he said, that was us. So what? That was us. So thank God for Jim's wife who said no in the beginning. Because of that no, we have these warriors on set who saved 200 children.
Wow, that's awesome.
And you have to understand that as a filmmaker, our hope is when the film is finished, when the film comes out, hopefully this film will save one child. On set, while we were filming this movie, 200 children were saved, were rescued in Cartagena, Colombia. So God bless you, brother. God bless your wife.
Okay.
Did you catch that? The United States is the #1 consumer of child sex. Mexico is the #1 provider of child sex. Biden administration has allowed this to take place since they came into power, and it's at an all-time high. It's a plague that's hitting our nation. This is truly the most diabolical administration ever in the history of the United States. God's children are not for sale. Our tax dollars under the Biden administration are paying for the final leg of child trafficking here into the United States. We are the silent majority. We've allowed the minority to be the loudest and control what's going on. It's time we rise up and get loud with our voices and get active. It was really a powerful testimony to hear about 200 children rescued in Colombia while they were on set filming this movie. That just shows you the hand of God on this movie. One thing I want to bring your attention to is Hollywood is about to really get loud and obnoxious in making Mel Gibson out to be a complete lunatic, crazy man. Don't listen to him, don't talk to him. Tim Ballard and Mel Gibson have put together a 4-part documentary. They went into Ukraine since this war has started, and many thousands of children are missing. The sex slave trade is at an all-time high over there, you could say. The evil that's been unleashed because of this war, they've taken advantage of it. And our government's a big part of the provider to keep this war going. It's sad. But I want you to catch this upcoming interview here where they talk about this 4-part documentary. Tim Ballard will share about what him and Mel Gibson are putting together, and they were shocked at what was happening in Ukraine. Check it out.
I have a prediction. Hear me out on this prediction. Over the next few weeks, you will see a number of news articles from the mainstream media reminding you why you should hate actor Mel Gibson, or at the very least, why you should ignore him. They will remind you that he's a bad person, a racist, an anti-Semite, and all manner of other things, they will tell you. They will republish the leaked audio recordings of his personal conversations where he said some really vile things that he later apologized for. We just learned that Mel Gibson is about to release a 4-part massive documentary series on the worldwide child sex trafficking ring that brings in $34 billion a year in revenue. $34 billion in revenue. Just for a frame of reference, the airline industry this year, it's bounced back. It's on pace to do $22 billion in revenue this year. 22. That's all airline companies combined. Child sex trafficking is more profitable than the airline industry. This news comes, though, on a day today, the Wall Street Journal front page story exposing how Mark Zuckerberg's Instagram, yes, Instagram, is actively promoting in-person meetups for pedophilia networks. Here's the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. Instagram connects vast pedo network. At America's border, tens of thousands of children are being brought into the United States for child sex trafficking. Our friend Michael Yan, former Green Beret war correspondent, has been covering this for us, doing an amazing job at the border and in Panama at the Darien Gap. He sent us this video that he filmed from the border with another journalist because there's huge money, big money, $34 billion in money, basically trafficking untraceable babies who have no birth certificates. No birth certificates, no records. They are perfect for sex trafficking. Watch.
Obviously, we've shown you guys multiple camp areas in which it was not as obvious as what we're seeing here. Take a look what we're seeing here. You start seeing nothing but children's clothes, blankets, let me see, little girls' articles of clothing, little boy or girls, little boy shoes, more little girl undergarments, little girl shoes, more little girl shoes, another, I don't know if it's a woman or another, a girl's shoes, and there's baby bottles all the way in there. And just to show you guys, there's multiple baby bottles in here, baby formulas, little girl jackets. What's that medicine to the left? Gloves? Pacifiers.
That's not a pacifier. That's a diva cup.
Latex gloves. Like, they had tons of kids in here, guys. Tons of babies in here, wrapped in blankets. Their evidence is here.
So this is happening in the United States. The United States, the biggest purveyor of this, one of the biggest purveyors of this. Here is a former CIA agent explaining exactly how all of this works and why it's so profitable and basically untraceable.
These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture, because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. The other working assumption is, how long do these children survive within this system? What I am hearing from the witnesses that I've talked to is 2 years. It may be longer. It may be 4 years, it may be 6 years, but by and large, these children are so abused. I mean, we're talking rapes by the hour and so forth, that they reach their expiration date within 2 years. And then they're murdered with impunity, or they're ritually murdered if that's what they've been bred for.
And we now know that a big portion of this new Mel Gibson documentary, this 4-part documentary, will center around Ukraine and Ukraine's child trafficking operation. And this is not just 10 kids, 100 kids, more than 10,000 kids, at least in Ukraine, sold off to be, quote, harvested Yes, harvested, the words they use. Those are the words they use, not mine. Those are the words they use. We now know that Mel Gibson is about to release this documentary because the man who leads the global effort to stop child trafficking, one of the men who leads this, is Tim Ballard. And he told us so. This is Tim Ballard. He's a husband, father, former CIA, former DHS special agent, undercover operator who left and founded Our Rescue, which is a nonprofit that helps to stop this. Here's what their website says. We exist to rescue children from sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. We lead the fight against child sex trafficking and sexual exploitation around the globe. We will not give up and will continue to go to the darkest places until the light is restored and every child is protected. So they exist to stop these children from being exploited. It turns out that Tim Ballard is working directly with Mel Gibson to show the world the horrors of this $34 billion operation. He published this message on social media, which is now legend because Mel Gibson is now trending all over Twitter.
Yes.
Why? Because of this. Tim Ballard, can't wait to tell you exactly why Mel Gibson is wearing this hat, which is the Our Rescue hat. Big announcement coming soon. And then Tim gave a speech. This speech a short time ago, explaining how Mel reached out to him when he found out that what was unfolding in Ukraine. He asked him for help to stop it. Orphans that he supports in Ukraine, get them out of there. Can you help them? And to get the kids out of this area. Tim asked for help in getting the word out, and maybe they could film this process, teach others about what's going on in this world, child sex trafficking. He thought that they were going to be just covering what was happening in Ukraine. Turns out it was a much bigger story than they could have even imagined. Watch him explain his contact with Mel Gibson.
I told Mel, I said, you got to help me. This is going to be expensive. I won't ask you for direct donation, but can you help me film this? Let's film what's happening so we can get people to understand and they can support us. He said, no problem. He helped us get set up and started filming. 4 months later, what I thought was going to be maybe a documentary about Ukraine ends up being a 4-part docuseries that's almost done. It's being produced by DNA Films and executive produced by Tony Robbins. That's how crazy it got and how prophetic my wife was. When I showed up in Ukraine with a list of, I think, 20 names, the Ukrainians countered me and gave me over 10,000 names of orphans that they didn't know where they were.
We need to pray for these men, for Mel Gibson, for Eduardo, the producer of Sound of Freedom, for Jim Caviezel, Tim Ballard. These men are truly loving not their own lives and willing to lay it down for this cause. They're bringing our attention here in America about this pandemic of sex trafficking. It's much worse than most people know, so spread this word. If you really enjoy this, share this with others. And also do this. Contact your local cinema halls and ask them to show this film. We've already contacted our local Bighorn Movie Cinema. The owner is doing his best. He's contacted Angel Studios to get this into our Cody movie, Bighorn Cinema, and he's hoping, he hasn't got word yet if it's going to be released July 4th here in Cody. He's doing his best to get it in, but he said if it doesn't come in that week, it'll be in a week or two later, so stay tuned. We'll give you the contact information for those of you here in Park County that want to catch this film. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to our channel, our Contending for the Nation channel here on Rumble and also on Telegram. On Telegram, we share a lot more than just these podcasts. So you can subscribe to both of those channels and stay in touch with us. We do not share this on Facebook. We don't share it on YouTube. We're heavily censored. In fact, I've just been censored again by Facebook for sharing simple truths they do not like. And this is communism at work, to shut down any opposing view and silence opposition. So please share this with others so we can spread this. And also subscribe to our Rumble channel. Of course, you can catch us on markandersonministries.com. We have every podcast that we upload on our Contending for the Nation Rumble channel, so you'll be able to catch it there as well. We ask, too, that you consider supporting us so we can keep putting more of these kind of podcasts out. One of the next ones we're going to be working on is the global cabal's desire for depopulation. We're going to show you how they're bringing and fulfilling that desire, and we have to rise up, be aware of this evil, and stop it in Jesus' name. So, hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and really sound the alarm about this movie, Sound of Freedom. Let's get the word out. And by doing that, we can see change here in America and around the world. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in.
In the words of Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. We must contend for truth. If we don't contend for truth, we lose our freedom. Benjamin Franklin said those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. You've been watching Contending for the Nation with Mark Anderson. If you've enjoyed this podcast, share it with others and spread the truth. For more information about today's show and contending for freedom, go to markandersonministries.com and find the truth.